You're starting a new business. You're getting it done. You're trying to get something new done. You're trying to play the guitar, whatever it is, right? You want to have discipline in order for you to grow in the long term, because if you don't have discipline, you can't be the best version of yourself, right? In this video, we're going to talk about how discipline will guide and mold you into the best version of yourself, regardless of your situation right now. My name is Sahas, aka Sosa. The first thing you got to understand about discipline is that discipline leads to success. We've heard this many times in our lives, and we know that discipline leads to success. But how does discipline actually lead you to success? It's a very good question to ask, because let's just think it about like this with an example. You're trying to play a new instrument. You're trying to play the guitar, right? The first time you take the guitar into your hand, you try to play the chords, you don't know the chords. You try to play the beat, you don't know the beat. You don't know nothing about guitars, and everything's fucked up, right? So how do you develop? Through discipline. But you're going to do this hard thing, which is called discipline, but you don't know how it is going to turn out. So it's a very good question to ask. What is discipline? And how does discipline lead you to success? It's a very good question to ask. To tell you what discipline does for you, the first thing discipline is going to do to you is discipline creates hardships, and these hardships will create experiences in your life, and these experiences will in turn make you an expert, right? So how does this process all happen together? The process is very simple, right? When you start something new, you don't have any experience, right? So you start something new and you go through the hardships, right? You play the guitar, your fingers hurt. You don't know the chords. People are laughing at you. You're trying to do something new and it's difficult. You go through the hardships, and while you're going through the hardships, you learn from those hardships. That's the most important part about discipline, is that discipline is not something you can master overnight. Discipline is something that helps you to fail, and one day win because of that failures. And in the last video, we talked a lot about how the failures are going to be the pillars of your success. And it's the same thing here. You lose and you lose and you lose, but you learn from those lessons, and you learn something from the failures you had, and these failures are going to mold you, and that's going to give you experience, right? So what is experience? Experience is failing enough times to know that if I do this, this is going to fail, and if I do this, this is going to succeed. That's experience. Discipline is something that you do in a long enough time period so you can get good at it, right? So what discipline does to you, as we said before, it's going to give you the hardships, and by those hardships, you're going to learn, and those learning experiences become and turn you into an expert. So that's how discipline turns you into an expert. That's the first thing you got to understand about discipline and what discipline does to you. And the second thing you got to understand, a man who does a particular task 1,000 times has much more of a success ability to be successful than a man who does it 10, 12, maybe 15 times. This is very easy to understand because we already know it, because if you do it 1,000 times, there is much more likelihood of you succeeding. And rather than doing it 5, maybe 10 times and just giving it up, it's easy to do that, right? It's easy to just do it 1 time, maybe 2 times, and just, oh, it's not working, I'm going to give up. It's easy to do that. The hard part is going through the discipline and just following the hard and things that it's really tough to do, and just doing it on repetition until you become the person you want to become. That's what discipline is, right? So basically, as I said before, a man who does the same thing again and again and again and again 1,000 times is going to be defeating and destroying everybody who does it 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 times. because he has, again, coming back to the same point we talked about before, experience and expertise. The third thing that discipline is going to give you is when there is negative things happening in your life, discipline will always find a way to give you happiness. People say all the time, oh, 18-hour days. Oh, I don't want to work 18 hours a day, man. I want to be happy. That's one of the things people say all the time, right? But one thing people don't understand is that once you start working 18 hours a day, even though if not all of the things you're doing is not successful, sometimes you fuck up. Most of the time you fuck up. But even though when you put that hard work in, and at the end of the day, you sit back and you look at the things you have done, and the happiness you feel is out of this world. I'll tell you a good story. When about maybe 6-7 months ago, I started hustling, and I was like, I gotta work, man. I don't want to be this guy anymore. I gotta get my life in order. And I really started to work, and I really started putting the work in. And when I did this, the first few days was rough because I was not used to it, whatever. But after some time, I got in the hang of it, and I'm putting like 14, 15, maybe 16 hours a day every single day. And at the end of the day, even though how tired I am, I'm frustrated at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, even though how hard it is, even though it's painful, even though you're tired, the happiness you feel, I can't explain how happy or what I feel at that point in time, but that is way, way, way better than happiness. And what you feel at that point is something I can't explain, or I know how to explain, right? So regardless of what your situation is, you might be in a messed up situation, you might be fucked up, right? Having discipline will create this barrier in your life that regardless of what you do, that barrier is gonna protect you from whatever happens anymore, because regardless of what hardship is going to come at your way, you're gonna be successful because you have discipline. Discipline is very much like a superpower, right? Then we're gonna talk about how can you implement discipline. If you don't have discipline and you want to implement discipline in your life, how can you implement discipline into your life? So discipline is a very hard thing to achieve because discipline is not something you can do 1 time, 2 times and skip. No, it's something that you're gonna do long for years and years, maybe, right? Who knows how long you have to do it until you become successful. You have to keep doing it again and again and again. It's really hard to do, and it's really not a step-by-step process like all these other YouTube videos you see. Like it's a step-by-step process, 5 processes to make $100. It's not like that, right? Because discipline, you got to really work hard, and it's not a 5-step process because you have to create your own way. You can't look at some other guy who did it and just follow his steps exactly and expect it to succeed, because your story is going to be different than his story. So you have to create your own way. And how are you going to implement these things? So even though your story is going to be completely different to my story, and the way I did things is going to be completely different, these are some things that I think that's going to be extremely helpful for you to know to implement discipline into your life. The first thing is to give your mind no way out, right? When you start doing hard things in your life, when you start suffering and you go through the pain, the first thing that's going to happen to you is your mind will start to give up. As David Goggins say, the most powerful weapon in the world is your mind, right? So as you know, the mind is a very, very, very powerful thing that you can use for your advantage. But at the same time, the mind is so powerful that you don't even know what your mind can do, right? As any weapon, mind is for good and for bad, right? If you control your mind and use that mind in a positive way, your mind's gonna be the best thing for you. But if you let your mind wander and do whatever it wants to do, then it's gonna be bad for you, right? So one of the best things you could do is to give no way out for your mind to stop, or say, oh, it's enough for today, right? So the best thing you could do, for an example, let's just say you're studying, you're trying to do something. Let's just say you're trying to study, for an example, and try and find things that make you want to stop and find a solution for those things before those things even happen. So for an example, if you're trying to study every single day and you feel sleepy every single day after about 2 hours, right? And you know this is going to happen tomorrow as well. Before you start your study session today, tell yourself, if I feel sleepy, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go do 10 push-ups. I'm going to go drink a coffee. Whatever it is, make things and have plans to do when your mind starts to give up, right? So make sure the mind doesn't have a gap to sneak through and find comfort is one of the best things you could do. And these plans are going to be changing from every single person to the things you do. It's going to change. So the best thing I can tell you is you have to create your own plans and steps. That's up to you. But create a plan and steps that will work for you is one of the best things you could do. That's the first thing you can do to implement discipline into your life. And the second thing you could do is do smaller tasks in order for you to become better in the long term. That's one of the best things that you can do with discipline, is that in nowadays, a lot of people are messed up because all their life they've been telling things but never achieving those things. It's very common these days. And it was common with my life as well. You say, oh, I'm going to wake up at, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock tomorrow, and you snooze. And then 2 hours later, you wake up and it's been 2 hours, right? You lied to yourself. Every single day, you tell your mind, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but you don't do it. And then your mind kind of feels that energy, and your mind kind of fools off of it and understands that, he's just talking shit, right? He's just talking shit. So the best thing you could do is find simple tasks that you can do, and then challenge yourself into saying, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to change my mind. And then do this again and again and again in a rhythmic pattern until your brain recognizes it, right? For an example, let's just say you want to study 4 or 5 hours a day. But if you're not possible of doing that right now, start studying 30 minutes a day. But tell your mind before you start studying, I'm going to study 30 minutes today. Right now, I'm not going to get up no matter what happens. No excuses, no nothing. I'm going to go study, right? And make these changes in your life today. So as it's going forward by the next 2-3 weeks, your mind kind of knows, okay, he tells it and he does it. And when your mind starts to recognize it, it's much more easier for you to work, because your mind kind of understands you better in a sense, right? And then the third thing I have to say is kind of ironic, but workout. Working out is one of the things that has helped me the most to create discipline in your life. Whenever you have a low point in your life, working out is one of the best ways to create discipline, is because working out is probably the hardest thing you could do right now, right? Regardless, physically, working out is probably the hardest thing you could do right now. So doing hard things, doing tough and painful things will train your mind in a way and callous your mind in a way where you can go and do the easy tasks much more easier, because you've already done the hard part. You've already done the tough suffering part. So it's much more easier for you to step out and do the easier things, right? For an example, if you're doing a bicep curl, right? When you do a bicep curl, let's just say you're saying, I'm going to do 12 reps. I'm going to do 12 reps. And then you start curling, boom, you get to 5, 6, your arm feels a little bit sore, right? And then by the time you get to 6, 7, you're like, man, your body starts to give up. Your arm starts to hurt, right? The muscles start to pain, and you're like, whatever, right? It starts to hurt. And then you still keep going. Even though your biceps hurt, even your arms hurt, you go on. And then by the 9, maybe the 10th rep, your mind starts to give up. Your mind says, you've already done 10, it's enough. Keep the dumbbell down. You don't have to do this, right? You feel like it's enough, right? Your mind tries to give up, right? But you say, no, I said 12, I'm gonna do 12, right? So you get to the 12, maybe 13, maybe 15, whatever the target you wanted to. And what's beautiful about it is your body gave up in the middle. Your mind gave up in the middle, but you kept going on. You didn't stop. That's the beautiful part about it, is that even when your mind, body gave up, you kept going. And how this is going to create discipline is, in a way, is that when your mind and body gives up, you still kept going. So think about it like this. Now you go back to studying. As the previous example, you go back to studying and you realize, like, okay, this is easy compared to working out. This is easy compared to working out, right? Because working out, your body hurts, your mind want to give up. But when you're studying, the hard part is you feel sleepy, right? And you're like, oh, that's not a big deal, because you've gone through hard, painful things in your life, such as going through a very rough workout, which already created this background where you're like, I can do this. It's easy. I don't have to worry about this anymore. So these are the things that you can implement today, right now, to create discipline in your life. There are much more things you could do, and there are much more things that worked out for me, but I don't want to talk about things that worked out for me, because the things that you're trying to do is completely different, because you might be trying to learn something that I have never even heard of. Probably you might be trying to code. I don't know, whatever you're trying to do. So the discipline and the steps you take to create that discipline strictly depends on what you do, right? It's really hard to me to explain the things that's worked out to me, and I can't say that these things will 100% work for you. So I had to come up with things that will work for everyone, and rather than just saying things that wouldn't make sense to anybody, I came up with these tips that I could give you, where you can formulate your own plan rather than following somebody. And so you can use these steps, and none of these steps, except for the working out part, all the other 2 steps is for you to create your own plan rather than following my plan. So create your own plan and stick to the plan, and let the discipline guide you to victory. And if you still haven't had a lot of discipline in your life, or you're still trying very hard to get to whatever you want to do, or if you're really stuck in a position where you don't know how to get to that first step and just start whatever you're trying to do, I have a video about that. I posted it a couple days ago. I think I posted it yesterday. You can go check out. I'll probably link that video to this video as well. Go check that video out if you're stuck and you're trying to do something, but you're stuck and you don't know how to do it. And there's a lot more videos coming out. I'll probably drop another video tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel to see that video. And if you have any other tips and ideas or problems that you want to comment down below, go down and comment. And of course, the things that has worked for you, share your experiences, because there's a lot of people that could learn from that. So go down and comment down your experiences, problems, whatever it is. And as always, my name is Sahas, aka Sosa. Peace out.